in Seattle, Washington, January 14, 2017. The rain fell in heavy sheets, blurring the city lights and washing the streets clean, or at least that's what people wanted to believe. But in the shadows, corruption thrived. And at the center of it all was Officer Daniel Reeves. For nearly 15 years, he was the pride of the Seattle Police Department. A dedicated officer, a relentless investigator, the man who always got his suspect. But behind the uniform, behind the polished reputation, was something far more sinister. Reeves didn't just enforce the law, he bent it, twisted it, and when necessary, buried it. His arrests were praised, his instincts applauded. But those instincts weren't justice. They were calculated deception. And for the people caught in his web, the truth didn't matter. Only the conviction did. For years, no one questioned him. He had a near-perfect record, cases closed, criminals behind bars, crime rates dropping under his watch. But defense attorneys began to notice patterns. Suspects who swore they had never seen the evidence presented against them. Witnesses who suddenly changed their stories. And above all, the chilling efficiency with which Reeves always seemed to have the right information, the right confessions, the right timing. Yet no one dared speak out, because to challenge Daniel Reeves was to challenge the very institution that protected him. And those who tried, they learned quickly. Evidence disappeared. Charges were filed. Lives were destroyed. Then came the night of October 12, 2017. The case that changed everything. A quiet stretch of Highway 99, just outside the city. A single car parked near Fairview Bridge. The driver's side door left ajar, engine still running. And inside the vehicle, a man, slumped over the wheel, a bullet wound in his chest. The victim, Marcus Yates, 33 years old, a software engineer, a husband, a father, no criminal record, no known enemies. Just a man who, for reasons unknown, had been executed on the side of the road. At first, it seemed like a random act of violence. But then the forensics team found something chilling. A blood-stained police badge lying just a few feet from the body. The number on it? 6,743. Officer Daniel Reeves. When the news broke, Reeves didn't panic. He'd been in tight spots before. He knew how to play the system. He denied being anywhere near the scene, claimed his badge had been stolen, and for a while it seemed like he might get away with it again. But this time was different. Investigators started pulling records, combing through old case files. Whispers of misconduct turned into concrete evidence. Evidence that pointed to a disturbing truth. Reeves had been planting evidence for years. Dozens of wrongful convictions. Dozens of lives destroyed. But the most damning discovery? Surveillance footage from a gas station just a few miles from the crime scene. A few seconds of grainy video that changed everything. A police cruiser pulled into an alley. The timestamp? The exact time Marcus Yates was murdered. And the driver? The arrest was swift. The department wasted no time distancing themselves, pretending they had never known the truth. The media went wild. The headlines screamed corruption. The community demanded justice. Reeves, once the hero, was now the villain. But even as they locked him away, investigators found something else. Something buried deep in the archives. Something that suggested Marcus Yates wasn't just another victim. He had uncovered something worth killing for. And the real question wasn't why Reeves had murdered him. It was who else was involved. The city was still reeling from the revelation. Officer Daniel Reeves, the man once seen as a relentless enforcer of justice, now exposed as a corrupt predator who framed the innocent and killed to protect his secrets. His arrest should have been the end of it. A high-profile case neatly wrapped up. But something didn't sit right. Detectives combing through his past discovered patterns, cases that felt too perfect, too clean. Victims with no criminal history suddenly caught in fabricated evidence trails. The deeper they dug, the clearer it became. Reeves wasn't working alone. But the moment investigators started asking questions about who else might be involved, doors started closing. Evidence that should have been there had been wiped. Files vanished from police databases. Key witnesses refused to speak. And those who did, They disappeared. The case of Marcus Yates was supposed to be an isolated crime. But it wasn't. A new piece of evidence surfaced, one that changed everything. A backup drive recovered from Marcus Yates' home, hidden in a locked safe. Inside were encrypted files, names, badge numbers, case numbers, and payments. Large sums of money being moved through offshore accounts, tied to officers in the Seattle Police Department. But one name stood out, a name that no one expected to see. It wasn't just Reeves. It was someone higher up, someone pulling the strings. Then, just as detectives prepared to bring their findings forward, something happened. The lead investigator on the case, Detective Lauren Briggs, never made it home that night. Her car was found abandoned on a remote stretch of road outside Seattle. The driver's side door open, the engine still running, just like Marcus Yates, and on the ground beside the car, her badge. The truth was out there, waiting to be uncovered. Detective Daniel Reeves had spent years orchestrating his elaborate web of deception, framing innocent people to protect his own secrets. But now the walls were closing in. The relentless journalist, Lisa Carter, had put together the final pieces, and the case against him was airtight. It was December 3rd, 2019, in the heart of Chicago. The city was already preparing for the brutal winter, but for Reeves, the coldest thing in the air was the fear creeping up his spine. The moment his badge was stripped from him, the moment the cuffs clicked around his wrists, he knew his time was up. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. The once respected detective was being led away in disgrace. But even in chains, Raines smirked. There was something sinister behind his eyes, a hidden ace he believed he still had. As he was taken into custody, Lisa Carter watched, feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the winter air. She had exposed him, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something more, something he had buried deep, something even she hadn't uncovered. Days passed, and the trial of Daniel Reeves became the biggest case the city had seen in years. Every piece of evidence meticulously gathered over the years was now being used against him. Testimonies from those he had wrongfully accused painted a picture of a monster wearing a badge. The prosecution had no shortage of evidence. Planted drugs, coerced confessions, fabricated reports, all orchestrated by a man who had sworn to serve and protect. But Reeves wasn't going down without a fight. His defense was built on the claim that he had done what was necessary to put criminals away, that justice wasn't always black and white. But no one was buying it. The public wanted blood. The families of the framed victims wanted justice. And Lisa Carter wanted the whole truth. Then, on the 5th day of the trial, an unexpected twist sent shockwaves through the courtroom. A sealed file was brought forward, something even the prosecutors hadn't seen before. It was an old case, one that had been closed for nearly 2 decades. The murder of Emily Grayson, a case that had haunted the city in the late 1990s. A case that, as it turned out, had been manipulated by none other than Daniel Reeves himself. Emily Grayson had been a rookie journalist, much like Lisa, chasing after corruption within the police force. She had been working on something big, something she never got the chance to publish. Her death had been ruled a burglary gone wrong, but this new evidence suggested otherwise. The file contained notes, evidence that had never been logged, and a witness statement that had mysteriously disappeared. It all pointed to one conclusion: Emily had been silenced because she was getting too close to the truth. And the officer who had handled the case? Daniel Reeves. Lisa Carter's blood ran cold as she read through the documents. It all made sense now. Reeves had started his cover-ups long before anyone had suspected. He hadn't just framed innocent people, he had gotten away with murder. The courtroom was silent as the judge reviewed the new evidence. Reeves' smirk had vanished. His carefully crafted image of control was crumbling. He had spent years manipulating the system, bending it to his will, but now the system had caught up with him. The verdict came swiftly, guilty on all counts. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice had been served, but for Lisa Carter it wasn't just about Reeves. It was about Emily Grayson, about all the victims who had been denied their truth, about how deep corruption could go when power was left unchecked. As Reeves was led away for the final time, He turned back one last time, locking eyes with Lisa. And in that moment, she saw something chilling. Not fear, not regret, but a silent promise. A warning that even from behind bars, his influence might not be truly gone. Lisa walked out of the courtroom, the weight of the truth finally uncovered. But she knew one thing for sure. Somewhere out there, another story was waiting to be told, and she would be the one to tell it. As the cell door slammed shut behind him, Daniel Reeves was no longer the hunter, he was the hunted. The same system he had once manipulated had now consumed him whole. But as the world breathed a sigh of relief, believing justice had prevailed, one question lingered in the air like a ghost in the dark. How many others had suffered in silence, their stories buried, their innocence lost? And worse, how many more like Reeves were still out there, hiding behind the badge, waiting for their turn to rewrite the rules of justice? If you found this story chilling and want more dark truths uncovered, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications and share your thought on the comment section below. We expose the hidden, the forgotten, and the untold. Don't miss what comes next, because sometimes the real horror isn't fiction, it's reality. Fire Police Car Light.